Hey friends, my name is Jake, and I recently watched the Netflix horror titled Midnight Mass. I myself am a horror person, and frankly, I enjoyed it. But near the end, it did raise one issue, an issue that I wanted to talk about. I'm going to do my best to not have any spoilers for this, so just minor spoiler warning. I won't list any names or I'll list an event, but I won't list any names or what happens, but I just want to talk about the philosophy behind that event and this worldview that one of the characters adopts in the last episode. In one of the later episodes, two characters get together to talk about what happens after death. One of the characters is, I would say, a staunch atheist, kind of believes that religion is kind of all, frankly, BS. And he holds that, well, we simply die. We go away, our body stops working, and that's it. The other character starts out as a Christian, and she gives the answer that, well, we enter this kind of wonderful paradise for our soul, and it's just very relaxing, and it's just perfect. However, as the last episode comes, she decides that she was actually wrong. That what actually happens is that we do not die at all. There actually is no self. And we are afraid of death because we're so tied up with the idea that ourselves exist, that they're actual things. And so when the self dies, we think we actually die. But in reality, we're just atoms. We're these quarks and these atoms and these molecules and these cells all coming together to form this thing. And there's a really poetic shot of her hand resting on the ground with the grass. And she says it's very hard to say where I end, where I begin, and where everything else begins. And this is the kind of idea that we are the universe. You may have heard that famous kind of New Age phrase, we are the universe experiencing itself. The theory that she is actually espousing at the end is Buddhism. The character never says that, but she says a doctrine that is closely related to Buddhism, anatta, or anatta, the idea that there is no self. That's what it translates to. And so if we could only see that the self does not exist, that there is only the universe in the shape of a self, then we wouldn't be afraid of death anymore. The show kind of distorts the biblical phrase, remember you are dust and to dust you shall return, and puts it in this Buddhist framework that there are no selves. And so there's no reason to be afraid of death because technically death's an illusion. Life's an illusion. The self is an illusion. We are all. And when we talk about God, we are talking about all, everything. And so once we realize that, as Buddhism goes, we realize that we are God. In Buddhism, God's just a misunderstood way of talking about that one, the Tao, that we are all a part of. Now, before I became Catholic, I was an atheist, and I really studied the Eastern religions, Hinduism, particularly Advaita Vedanta, Buddhism, especially Zen, and Taoism, Tao Te Ching, the I Ching, the stuff written by Chuang-Tzu. But there's one fatal flaw with this philosophy. It'll sell you the good things that you want to hear. For example, death's an illusion. You have no reason to be worried about it. But life is an illusion. All of this is an illusion. The person you are talking to, the person who is your world, your love, the person who you do anything for, and who you feel safe with, is an illusion. It does not actually exist. You are deluded. You are mistaken. And here is the big problem for Buddhism, a problem that I don't see many people talk about. If Buddhism is true, then love is an illusion. But love's not an illusion. So therefore, Buddhism isn't true. If you may be considering a Buddhist philosophy or a Hindu philosophy or any Eastern or Gnostic philosophy that tries to get away from individuals and multiplicity and change and all that, and tries to reduce everything into this one, then please take this warning. Love is impossible. There is no such thing as an I, there's no such thing as a you, there's no such thing as a love between those people. Because there's no people. So there can't be any love. Contrast this, for example, with the Christian God, who is a trinity of persons. When St. John says that God is love, the best way to explain that is that God is a Trinity between the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. And that's why we can say God is love, because God is this community. God is this family of persons. No other religion can say that, because no other religion has a God that is love. I can tell you from my own past experience when I was really interested in these Eastern philosophies. I was sick, I had a bad flu, and I had a severe panic attack. As I was sick one night, my mom and my dad, my girlfriend were there around the bed. They were trying to comfort me, but I totally fell into what psychologists call derealization and depersonalization. Derealization is the phenomenon of where nothing seems real anymore. It seems like a dream. It seems illusory. Depersonalization is the very same thing. You don't feel as if you're centered as a center of consciousness. You don't feel as if you are a person. I didn't feel like me. I didn't know what I was. I just knew I was not me. And as my parents and my girlfriend were trying to comfort me, they're saying, Jake, it's okay. I was in the worst panic attack I had in my life. I was in the midst of it, and I was bawling and I was crying and I was saying, you're not real. None of y'all are real. It honestly, though I wouldn't have used this language at the time, it felt like demons behind them, and they were just wearing the masks and the skin of my parents, my girlfriend. It was very frightening. What's even more frightening is that this is the reality that is proposed by these Eastern religions, by Buddhism, by at least esoteric Hinduism and the like. And I think when you realize that this is what they're actually selling you, what these philosophers are actually selling you, is this loveless hellhole. There's no love. And I doubt anybody would consider life to be worth living if there's no love in life. So maybe consider that if you're thinking about Buddhism or Hinduism, Taoism, Zen, and the rest. If you're considering these philosophies, I do encourage you to think about the consequences or the price tag that you would have to pay to adopt this position. Sure, death's an illusion. You don't need to be afraid of it. But so is love. So is the very thing that creates life. What created you was love between two people. And that's an illusion under this system. Really think about, is that a life that, for one, is worth living? And two, does it even square with the experiences you've had? There ever been times where you feel the reality of love? Whether it's the reality of love between your spouse, your girlfriend or boyfriend, your parents, your child, God, you feel that love. I don't think many people say that that was an illusion. I don't think an illusion changes people, like radically changes them. And I've seen it in my own life and others that love has that power to change. And I don't think something that doesn't exist can do that. But those are my thoughts on it. I'd like to hear a response to the argument that I've presented. If Buddhism is true, love is illusory. Premise 2, love is not illusory. Conclusion, therefore, Buddhism is false. I think that's a pretty tight syllogism. If you disagree, please let me know. I would love to talk about this in the comments, or just call me or text me if you have that. Anyways, I won't say check out Midnight Mass. It's all right. I do enjoy its portrayal of the church before crap hits the fan. If you like horror, I think it'd be a good pick. Just watch out for what it may be selling you. God love you, friends. Please keep me in your prayers. You are in mine.